Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking.
Welcome aboard Truly Expat Travel, where we're ditching the guidebooks, fastening our seatbelts, and diving into real stories from travellers who have traded the ordinary for the extraordinary, proving the world really is too big to be left unexplored. Cabin crew, be seated and ready for takeoff. Today's episode, I'll be chatting to Kristin about a destination I've not been to, so I'm really excited to hear all about it. It is on top of my bucket list destinations. But first of all, let's find out who you are, where you've come from, and how did you get to this destination, which I'll let you uncover for the audience. So welcome.
Sure. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. So, hi, my name is Kristin Montgomery, and I am an international teacher. I'm originally from the US, and I've been kind of teaching and traveling around the world for most of my adult life, I guess, after I graduated. I am here to talk about Madrid, where I'm currently living. And I actually lived in Madrid for a year, almost 20 years ago, right after I graduated from college. There is a pretty famous assistantship program that they have here. So if you're a native English speaker from a few different countries, you can come over for a year and work in a school as an English assistant. And so I did that program and loved it. It was wonderful. It was a really great time in my life to be here and explore Madrid. And then I eventually became a teacher and taught in, it was Switzerland, Singapore, Colombia, Germany, the US, and now I'm here in Madrid doing a master's degree in teaching Spanish.
Oh, wow. That is super interesting. So do you need to speak the language to be able to get around there? Because obviously you're fluent in the language.
Yeah. In Spain, I would say it's one of those countries where it definitely helps. There's maybe not a great reputation for speaking English. I think Madrid obviously is so used to tourists that you'll be able to get around in English, no problem. But if you're trying to do bigger things, administrative things, then it becomes a lot more difficult. So obviously speaking Spanish is definitely recommended. I would say, if we're looking at the level of English compared to like Germany or Scandinavian countries, it's definitely much, much lower here.
That makes sense. And is it hard to get around? I mean, do you need to have a car or is public transport okay in Madrid?
So Madrid is definitely a walking city. It's all about walking. You do not need a car. I would definitely not recommend a car. Even the day trips that you can go to have great public transportation. So if you're going to base yourself in Madrid, there's really no need for a car. The public transportation here is very, very good. There are buses. There's a very reliable and quick metro system also. But if you're right in the main center of the city, there are a lot of spots where, it's just old and the streets are small and narrow. And so walking is usually just the best option.
Okay, that's good to know. And if someone asked you, what is Madrid famous for, what would you say?
So Madrid, this is always a hard question that I think of when I try to really compare Madrid to other European capital cities, for example. I would say Madrid is all about the vibe. And it's really about la movida, which is kind of this concept that happened after the fall of the dictatorship in the 70s. And it's called la movida, which is like the movement, the vibe of people moving and living and being out in the streets. And so it's a place where there are a lot of great things to see, but it's really more about being here and living life and enjoying the food and enjoying the sunshine and that kind of thing compared to some other cities where you really go to see the specific attractions. That being said, things that you want to see, it's the capital of Spain. It's the biggest city. So it's very much the business heart of Spain. The Prado Art Museum is one of the best in the world, has all kinds of art and sculptures, probably the best Spanish art museum for sure. Retiro Park is a giant green space in the middle of Madrid. And that's a great place to go to people watch, and you can rent a little boat, and there's just lots going on there. They even have flamenco performances. It's a place where it's like you're still discovering all these little corners of this park.
Just not touching on that, is that the best place or area to stay if you're coming to visit near the park?
Let's see. So where would I recommend to stay? Probably not. The problem with transportation by Retiro Park is that there's no transportation that goes through it or metro lines that go under it. So it kind of separates the city. So most of what you're looking at would be on the other side. So I would probably recommend to stay closer to the center or kind of by Recoletos, which is like a little bit in between the center, but would have good public transportation connections there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when would be the best time to visit?
So the best time to visit would be spring or fall. Summer is very, very hot. So hot that things kind of shut down and the time changes a bit, in the sense that, in the late afternoon when it's the hottest, people are not out. They're home escaping the heat. Winter is pretty chilly compared to some other parts of Spain. I mean, still nothing terrible. I'm from the northern U.S., and so it's wonderful for me. It's balmy. I can't ever complain. But it's not as good, obviously, in winter. Although the exception to that would be if you come at Christmas. I would highly recommend coming at Christmas time if you want to see Christmas lights, because the whole city is decked out in beautiful Christmas lights, and there are a lot of special events. Like at El Corte Inglés is the major department store, and they always have amazing displays on their building for children and all sorts of other events.
And is there festivals through the year? So there's a month that you should go for a particular festival?
There are lots and lots of festivals. Some are very interesting. For example, there was one that was a festival to celebrate nomadic peoples that were like shepherds and goat herders.
Oh, okay.
So they had a whole flock of sheep in the fall marching through the city. So that was very interesting. Not something I expected. Other festivals, Semana Santa, so Holy Week around Easter, there are big festivities. And what else? Yeah, I mean, lots of like every national or international festival day, there were some things for Carnival recently, and in May there'll be another big festival.
Do they have a national day? Like a festival for a national day?
That's when their Saints' Day, I believe it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what month? Do you know what month that is?
That's in May. Yeah.
Oh, that is in
May.
So
that's the time where everyone will dress up in the kind of traditional Madrid dress. So that can be fun to see, especially little kids getting dressed up. Yeah.
And if there was a dish, because obviously Spain has different regions, different flavors, is there a dish you would suggest that someone has to try if they're in Madrid?
Madrid is about ham. There is ham in everything. And that's all of Spain, definitely. But I feel like especially Madrid, just because, it's not on the coast, so it doesn't have the seafood that some other places in Spain have. So yeah, you'll learn all about the different levels of ham and the different quality. And the best, if I got it right, is the ham that is acorn-fed pigs.
Oh, okay.
Bellota. And so that is kind of the most expensive type of ham. So there's ham everywhere. It's not a great place if you're a vegetarian. I ordered a vegetal sandwich, like a vegetable sandwich the other day at a restaurant, and I was eating it and I was like, oh yeah, of course there's ham in the vegetable sandwich. Good thing I'm not a vegetarian.
So does that mean that there is a particular drink that you need to try in the region?
There is. The thing that has become super popular right now that was not popular when I was here before is actually vermouth, which I never would have expected because it's not a drink that I had really had outside of Spain, but it's actually wine, like red wine, but darker and kind of more like almost like molasses-y. And yeah, they serve it usually with ice and with an orange slice. Okay. So that can be really nice even in the summer.
Yeah.
The other thing in the summer is called a tinto de verano. And that is instead of sangria. So the saying is that the tourists drink sangria and the madrileños drink tinto de verano. And so it's red wine and kind of like a Sprite or 7-Up type soda.
Okay.
So it's nice and refreshing, very cold, lots of ice.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds good. And so in terms of souvenirs, I'm not talking magnets. I'm talking something completely different. If you had a visitor, what would you recommend them buying as a souvenir?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Paula here. Just popping on to tell you about a quick way you can support the show. If you love this podcast, head to the link in the show notes. Any contribution helps me keep creating episodes just for you. Plus, I'll send you a thank you email and give you a shout out in the next episode. The link is also on my website and social media, so support really does make this possible. Thank you.
So the thing that I would recommend is actually to buy a fan, like a personal folding fan.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is it is actually very cultural. You'll see lots and lots of people, women generally in the summer, pulling out their fans in the metro and when they're sitting because it's hot and you want one. So I would recommend instead of buying like a $2 one, at a cheap shop, to buy something that would be more of a memorable souvenir. And there are special places that you can go. One is called, I think, Casa de Diego. That's kind of near Plaza Mayor Puerta del Sol. And for that, they have fans that are starting at, 30, 40, 50 euros. But you can buy a piece that's handmade and that,
Nice.
is following the tradition. So I would recommend that.
That's lovely. I love taking something a bit special home with me rather than the magnets. I don't collect magnets, so yeah.
Definitely. And then that's something that, you can use in Spain and you could display on your wall or something when you get back.
Or you could definitely use it in Singapore. I could use it right now.
Yes.
I do actually carry a fan around with me in Singapore. So yeah, you could carry it anywhere in Southeast Asia. So if a visitor was to come and stay with you, what would you say a 3-day itinerary would look like that's a little bit different to what the tourists do, I guess?
Yeah. So first day, I would recommend, as I mentioned, going to the Prado Museum, the art museum, going to Retiro and having a picnic there. And then walking around the kind of fancy shopping district that's Salamanca. And then at night, I would recommend a food tour. So they have a lot of great food tours here that you can do. And I always love a food tour because it's like you get a little bit of the history, but you also get the food. It's a great chance to really interact with the people that are working at the restaurants. And then if you're in a tour group, especially like I usually travel solo, it's a great chance to chat with other people that are in your tourist group too. So they have some tours that will take you around here. One that I did when I first got here, we went to a place that is famous for its mushrooms.
Oh,
So
okay.
that was really interesting. And then what else did we have? We had vermouth, one of the places. We had manchego cheese is also very famous. It's sheep cheese.
Okay.
So it's pretty dry, but it's very, very good. And there are a number of other really old restaurants around the city that you can eat at.
Nice. Do you have many Michelin star? I'm getting off track here.
I don't know. I've never eaten at a Michelin star, to be honest. I know there are, but I'm not sure. One thing that would be a tip is places in Madrid that have been in business for over 100 years have a little plaque on the ground outside their door, a little gold plaque. And so if you walk around, you can look for these places and, you know, it's not always 100% sure that it's going to be a great place, but if they've been in business for over 100 years, they're probably doing something right. So that's a good clue. And it's not just restaurants. It's also like pharmacies or different clothing stores. Yeah. So it's
That's
kind of a
tip.
fun thing to look for.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. And so what would you do on day 2?
So day 2, I would go to Ventas, which is a little bit farther out. I mean, not far. You just take the metro, but not right in the tourist center.
Mhm.
And it is the bull ring that is very famous here.
Okay.
And they still do bullfights. And obviously that's controversial and the popularity has decreased. But in Madrid, it's definitely still, I guess, more popular.
Mhm.
But I wouldn't necessarily recommend seeing a bullfight. But the building itself, the bull ring, is beautiful. Yep. It's a neo-mudéjar architecture, I believe, which is kind of the new style of what the Moors had built when the Muslims were in Spain hundreds of years ago. And so it's like this brick style. And there's a museum there too. So you can kind of learn about the history of bullfighting.
Okay. So could you do a tour inside the
You
bull
can.
ring?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can. Mm-hmm.
I guess as long as there's no bullfights going on.
Yeah. And those are usually, there's a certain season. I think it starts in the spring, but I can't remember.
Okay. That's all right.
And on Sundays also. So yeah, stay away from the Sundays if you want to see it.
Okay.
And then go to, let's see, well, Puerta del Sol is the main area, kind of the heart of the city, and they call it Kilómetro Cero, so kilometer 0, where all of the roads kind of in Spain radiate out from, since Madrid is really in the center of Spain. So just kind of seeing that, there's a very famous statue of a bear in a strawberry tree, climbing a strawberry tree. For whatever reason, that's kind of become the symbol of Madrid there. And at New Year's, that is the place where everyone gathers for celebration and the kind of the clock ticks down. And actually people eat 12 grapes is the tradition at New Year's. So as the clock chimes 12, you eat 1 grape for every second of the clock.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's something new.
Interesting Spanish tradition. So real close to Puerta del Sol is the Plaza Mayor, the biggest square. And that's another place that you have to just walk through and see. Everything, like all of the restaurants that are in the square there are overpriced. So I wouldn't recommend eating there necessarily. Maybe get a drink if you really want the ambiance, but definitely a place to see. There's a lot of just, things going on there, people playing music. And then also you're close to the Royal Palace. So I would recommend seeing that. There, you can visit it on a tour. And then there's also the cathedral that is right next door to that, the Almudena Cathedral. Although I will say that cathedral is not nearly as famous as other cathedrals in other places in Spain. So, that night I would recommend either, it kind of depends on if you're going to other places in Spain or not. I would recommend a flamenco show if you are not going to Andalusia, because Andalusia in the south is where flamenco is from. So if you can, see it there. But if not, there are tons of places in Madrid where you can see a great show. Or if you speak Spanish, to see a play or a show, because there are a lot of really great theaters and musicals that are going on too.
Yeah. Nice. And so day 3, what would day 3 look like?
So day 3, I would recommend doing a day trip to either Segovia or Toledo. And these cities are both pretty close. They're about an hour by public transportation by the time you get on the train and walk. I like Segovia better. That's the one that I would recommend. It's a little smaller city. It's a little more manageable. But they both have beautiful cathedrals, absolutely amazing cathedrals. And then they also both have a type of alcázar, which is like a castle. The one in Segovia, I really like. It was, I believe, one of the models for the Disney castle. Or inspiration. And the other thing to see in Segovia is the aqueduct. It's one of the best preserved aqueducts in the world.
I'm not sure what that is.
An aqueduct, so where they have water, the Romans built it and they used it to bring in water. So you have these kind of like double arches. And it was used until fairly recently, actually, for the city. So it's really
I know what you're talking
marvel, of engineering. So
wow. That's very cool.
I would recommend seeing that. If you're really into like medieval things, Toledo is, I don't know how it got this reputation, but it's the place to go for buying swords and kind of like reenactment things. So if you're into that, like that would be a place to buy a sword or like a knife that's been like professionally handcrafted.
Yeah. That's very cool.
Yeah. And then go ahead.
No, I was going to say, would you spend the evening there?
Probably not. So if you do Segovia, you could definitely do it in like a little more than a half-day trip. You could be back before supper time. And of course, supper in Madrid is very late, usually never before 8 o'clock. Even 8 o'clock is probably tourists. So you're talking 9 or 10, especially in the summer. So I would recommend coming back to Madrid, and then a fun place to go for sunset is actually an Egyptian temple. So this temple, it's called the Temple of Dubod. And it's pretty near the city center, so you don't have to go too far, definitely walkable. And it's kind of on a hill. And it's the best place, or one of the best places, to see sunsets because it looks out to the west. And so it's actually this temple that the Spanish government kind of helped with some projects, restoration projects decades ago in Egypt, and then kind of got this temple as a thank you. So there's a full real Egyptian temple that they brought back to Spain and reconstructed from what had been kind of destroyed. It was all just different pieces in Egypt. So it looks a little bit out of place in Madrid, but it's on this park that's up on a hill. And so you can see that. And then everybody kind of comes there to watch the sunset. I was there the other day and there were so many people there, just playing music and hanging out and enjoying the sunset. So that's a good place to go.
I was going to ask you, because I was in Poland last week or the week before last, and I noticed even in winter, it's so busy. Like, like everyone's eating and stuff. Is it like that in Madrid, even in winter?
Yes. It's always busy. People are always out in the streets. People in Madrid really are about living life in the streets and enjoying the outdoors, even in winter. When it's a bit chilly, places will have heat lamps, but it's still popular to eat outside. And at any time, day or night in Madrid, there is stuff going on and you'll find people in the streets.
It's good to know. Because I think sometimes as a tourist, you don't really go in off season because you don't think there's going to be much around. But I find more and more Europe seems to be embracing any season.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's warm enough in Spain that, I personally don't love eating outside in the winter, but many people are doing it. And just the fact that people are out and about all winter. I mean, I lived in Germany, and compared to Germany where it was like everything shut down in the winter, and in general, just people, you would not be out on the streets. Whereas here, like you can go out on a Sunday night and the streets are packed.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was your aha moment? Because I think everybody, when they first move to a place or before they move to a place and they've visited it, they're like, okay, this feels like why I've moved here or why I want to move here.
I think, like I just said, it's really the nightlife. It's the movida. If you go out, Friday or Saturday night and you walk around, it's like at 10 o'clock at night, you'll see families with children. Where I'm from, like you never have little kids out at 10 o'clock at night. And so it's just kind of a different timeline. You are out at 1 o'clock and literally the restaurant is packed, and like the bars on the square will be packed at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday night. There's, so much that you can do. I feel like people just really enjoy life, enjoy chatting. One thing that I think has been a reminder that has been hard for me to adapt to is the space issue, kind of. So it seems like the bars are very small, and it almost seems like the smaller the bar, the more popular it is. And so, you go in and you're sitting next to somebody that you don't know on both sides, and, you can barely hear the person across from you. You're often sitting on little stools, like even at coffee shops. I had to laugh the other day because I was at a little bit bigger place, this tea place that I like on the corner. And I was sitting at a nice table with a couple chairs, and this group of older people came in and they sat at a table with these little stools, and, they're in their 60s or 70s. And I was like, oh gosh, if you want to sit at my table, like, please feel free. And they're like, oh no, that's nice of you, but no, we really like it here. So, that's something that I think is very different culturally.
And so the bars and the restaurants are small, or you just find like is it just the bars?
I mean, more so the bars, but restaurants too. If you're in the center of any European city, it's quite different than Australia or the US in the sense that there's just not very much space. So yeah, something to get used to. But I think the other thing that's kind of cool about the bars is often people will spill out into the streets. So some of the places even have like a window so you can kind of order a drink from outside.
Yeah.
So
that's very cool.
That makes it kind of more popular, I guess. You can tell where the good bars are because you'll see people spilling out into the streets.
That's a very good tip. On that, do you have any tips for anybody thinking about coming to Madrid?
Yeah. So like I said, the heat is intense in the summer. So be ready for that. Drink lots of water and hat, sunscreen, obviously very, very important. The other tip I would give is that Madrid, lots of parts of Spain, but especially Madrid, Barcelona, some of the bigger cities are experiencing a big housing crisis right now. Because they are accepting a lot of people, which is awesome, a lot of immigrants. And so people are coming in and they have higher salaries, a lot of like digital nomads and remote workers from other European and North American countries. And they're coming in and they're paying a lot more than locals can afford for the housing. So that's been a really big issue, understandably. And a lot of locals are very upset. A lot of locals are being priced out of their neighborhoods that they've lived in all their lives. So I would recommend if you come, choose a hotel over an Airbnb. because they've actually changed the laws to make it a lot more difficult to make Airbnbs lately.
Okay.
So that's something that's important to note. So, not only for the fact that it's harder to get, but mostly to be a responsible tourist, try to choose a hotel if you're in Madrid.
That's a good tip, because I feel like there's quite a few cities are doing that now because of the housing crisis. It's kind of like almost everywhere now. So I don't ever, I know that's not true. It's not that I've never had an Airbnb, but I normally try not to. Like I prefer a hotel unless, no, that's not true. I always tend to pick a hotel these days, unless, like I was going to say, unless it's a chalet in the snow, but that's kind of different to an Airbnb, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So the last question I have for you is, do you have a hidden gem, a location that you think that might be, whether it's a neighborhood or a place or even an activity?
Yeah. So let's see. I would recommend, I really like the neighborhood that I'm fairly close to that's called Letras. And it is a neighborhood that's still touristy, but kind of like, because there aren't any real big sights to see right there, it's less known, but it's kind of like the literary neighborhood. And so a lot of writers used to live here. So you can see Miguel de Cervantes' house, I think. You can see there's a couple like Hemingway bars and bookstores, lots of bookstores actually. So lots of like cute little places if you like to just kind of pop in and be surprised. It's a great place for that. They also have a lot of quotes. And again, if you don't speak Spanish, this won't be relevant, but a lot of quotes that are on the street written in kind of like gold plaques from famous books and works by Spanish authors.
That's an awesome tip. I think that when I go to Madrid, I'll have to tack on an extra day so that I can scoot around to the neighborhood and have a look myself.
Yeah.
So thank you, Kristin. I know you're busy, so we'll end it there. But again, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And so if anyone wants to know about Kristin, I'll pop all the links in the show notes for you so you can get in contact with her. But yeah, in the meantime, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And people can find me online on Instagram, on my website. It's Growing Global Citizens.
Perfect. And I definitely will put that link in the show notes. Thank you for joining me on the Truly Expat Travel podcast. If you liked this episode and you found it valuable, then why don't you go ahead and like and subscribe so that you don't miss an episode moving forward. I've got some amazing guests and some fantastic destinations coming up. But if this is the episode and this is the destination that you really want to go to, then I suggest you head over to trulyexpattravel.com, where you'll find travel guides and deep dive into this sort of destination. If that's not what you want and you can't find an episode that is a destination you want to travel to, then head over and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, because I'm pretty sure you'll find something there. In the meantime, safe travels, and I'll see you next week.